Okay, sorry, whenever you're ready.
Good evening, everyone. As mentioned, as an educator and now as an education and training consultant, I became curious about how compassion can contribute to creating more equitable and caring learning environments. And I'd like to start off with one of my favorite quotes. Educating the mind without educating the heart is like no education at all, for Aristotle. Similarly, Prophet Muhammad says, there is a piece of flesh in the body. If it is good, then the whole body is good. And if it is spoiled, then the whole body is spoiled. And that is the heart. To affect our students' lives, we need to know the stories that affect their hearts. This is Omar, one of 90,000 refugee orphans in Europe. They thought they would be safe there, but many have faced violence, police brutality, and hundreds have been imprisoned in detention centers. Alone and afraid, many are also vulnerable to trafficking gangs, sexual exploitation. These kids' mother was killed in an airstrike, their family home destroyed, and their father was kidnapped at gunpoint. They nearly drowned on their boat journey from Turkey. But refugee students aren't the only ones with stories of struggle. Let's look at Rachel. She's a 16-year-old who's taken care of herself since she was 5. She says, I'm the girl who sits in the back and doesn't do her work because part of me asks why. Though everyone knew, she was a scarlet letter that everyone banished and ignored because they never knew what to do. Teachers didn't want to get their hands dirty, so she never told the secrets of her abusive homes. For 6 years, she was sexually molested, mentally manipulated, and enslaved by her brother-in-law. Rachel's advice to teachers, practice what you preach and don't promise what you can't keep. Don't turn your cheek when you have kids who don't do their homework. Lie about little things, kids who are craving affection from you, or do drugs. So compassion supporting students with what we call adverse childhood experiences I think is crucial because as mentioned, 70% of students have these experiences and they're not all coming from war zones. They're students who have been exposed to abuse, mental illness, or a drug or alcohol addiction in their family. These experiences can result in several barriers in the learning process and prevent students from reaching their greatest potentials, developing relationships, and behaving appropriately if they are not managed compassionately. So, what is compassion? Compassion is the ability to recognize and strive to alleviate another's suffering. So it is different than empathy because it requires action. It is a natural capacity, but it's not always easy to express and not to ourselves. The good news is, though, that we have the capacity to develop and broaden compassion for others as well as ourselves if we are willing to have enough courage. Because having compassion may involve being vulnerable, which Brené Brown defines as uncertainty. So we need to understand that underneath most of our emotions are our basic needs for love, acceptance, security, self-esteem. We need to know the vulnerable child who still lives deep inside each of us and in each of our students. In his book, The Compassionate Achiever, Christopher Cook talks about compassionate people finishing on top together because compassion is the chief law of human existence and it can save and change lives and has the capacity to improve the quality of your own life. Self-compassion is extending compassion to oneself in instances of perceived inadequacy, failure, or general suffering, and includes mindfulness, self-kindness, and connectedness. If we can teach self-compassion to our students and staff, they would be able to achieve higher levels of well-being, motivation, happiness, and connecting with others and decrease levels of anxiety and depression, because it makes room for failure, disappointment, and imperfection. A compassionate school is a school where staff and students learn to be aware of each other's challenges. They respond to the physical, emotional, and social challenges faced by students and families by offering support to remove barriers to learning. Some of the instructional principles that our educators can keep in mind are to always empower and never disempower, provide unconditional positive regard, maintain high expectations, check assumptions, be a relationship coach, and provide guided opportunities for helpful participation. It's also important to build compassionate school community partnerships by having a discussion of schools in partnership with community and the importance of well-being, mental wellness coordination for students. Finally, the benefits of compassionate education include transforming our schools, as mentioned, into more equitable and caring learning environments, as well as our communities into more caring and resilient places for growth, opening the heart and breathing new life, igniting passion and hope, addressing and decreasing the rate of burnout by teachers as a result of managing the needs of students who have experienced trauma, and enabling our students to build resiliency in the face of adversity and develop well-being in school and beyond to build a peaceful society. Thank you.